Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Srikar.
And I want to start this episode off by saying two things. One thing, a quick disclaimer, in case I come off a little bit bitter and sour this episode, we're recording on the same day the Jets have lost Carl Lawson to a season-ending injury. And this is kind of like the first big injury of the season for kind of anyone, but also it's just a complete representation of how, as a Jets fan, you just can't get excited. Legitimately, you can't get excited about anything Jets football. And I literally was so excited to see Carl Lawson play this year. Loved the signing, looked more into it, was the advanced stats behind his season last year were out of this world. He was absolutely murdering training camp. I was expecting him to be probably the best player on the Jets this year. And just like that, in training camp, out for the entire season. So just in case I come off a little bit sour or if I seem like a cruddy mood, it's because we lost Carl Lawson for the season. And while I'm pretty much joking, it also does suck that they're going to have to play all year without him.
Yeah, and prayers up for Carl Lawson, man. It's just devastating because when Robert Saleh came to the Jets and they picked up Carl Lawson, I was so excited to see how he was going to be utilized, in that all gas, no brakes defense. And now it's just he was having a great training camp, as Jack said. He has an injury history. I'm pretty sure he has 2 ACL tears on his record.
Yep.
It's really sad, and no player deserves to go through that. So it's just prayers up for Carl Lawson, and hopefully he can get better.
Yeah. On a nicer note, the second thing I wanted to say is thank you guys all so much for 4,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Sir,
blessed to hit that number, and because of you guys, we still get to keep doing this all the time, and we really appreciate all of your support. I guess we're juniors in high school. Definitely did not think that this was possible. And now starting college soon, we're still going to keep it going, transitioning to maybe more of just a podcast format, shying away a little bit from the videos that obviously take more time, harder to do when course loads increase and moving off to college is a different spot. But we're still dead set on continuing this podcast. And we've been doing it virtually for a while. I guess we can keep doing it virtually from NorCal to SoCal to all the way out in Syracuse, New York. But in this episode today, we're going to be talking about preseason week 1 and all the different things that came out of that. We're going to discuss the 5 first-round QBs. They all made their debuts in preseason week 1, and we're going to talk about it. In fact, I believe today, Mack Jones, one of them, played his second game, which I was able to catch a little bit of. Maybe we can bring that up. We also get to talk about Jordan Love, some of the other players that we saw make their, rookie debuts, but not really. And some of the things that we saw from them being able to take on a bigger workload for their teams. Talk about Antonio Gibson, a couple of things going on in Washington, and round it out by talking about Patrick Surtain and the Denver Broncos. But Srikar started off with the 5 rookie first-round quarterbacks from this year. Who do you want to talk about first? You want to go in draft order? Do you want to just kind of name off some names? What are you thinking?
I got my notes pulled up right now. Let's just go in draft order. I mean, that's how I wrote everything down. That's how I just went through these highlight tapes. But Trevor Lawrence, I know every single person in Jacksonville was watching that game and seeing how Lawrence was going to do. I mean, they have every right to. I mean, he's the franchise. He's the savior. But, I mean, it didn't really look like that in preseason week 1. It's just he was just getting sacked on almost every other dropback. His O-line pretty much did him no favors. But when he had time, I mean, he looked pretty good. He had some nice zip, good footwork, good accuracy. He can make tough throws. I can count on him to do that. And I know that a lot of people really just honed in on that 35-yard throw to Marvin Jones. I think it was in the second quarter. I don't think that was the best play or the best throw that he made. I think his best throw, it was on his first drive. He was facing 3rd and 9. And basically Cleveland did something that I really never see in preseason. And that's when they bring a DB blitz. They brought an inside blitz. They brought in a DB. Lawrence basically saw it. He picked it up and was good on the O-line too. They were able to pick that up as well. And Lawrence basically made the right read. Perfect throw to Marvin Jones for a first down on an out route. And really, if I'm looking for traits that are going to translate from college to the pro level, I'm looking at that play right there, and I'm saying that is why he drafted this guy at number 1 overall. And I know that, some Jaguars fans may be a little bit disappointed in what they saw, But I mean, for me, he showed flashes, and his flashes were really good, and it showed why they took him as high as they did, and it's why he was hyped up for so long. But I'm really excited to see what Trevor Lawrence does. I will say, though, don't expect it all to come together in year one. I still don't see this team getting more than maybe 5 or 6 wins. I still think this is probably like a 5-win team, 4-win if I'm really harping on them. But let's see, man. I really hope that Urban Meyer knows what he's doing. I feel like I bring them up. I bring up Urban Meyer every time I talk about the Jags, but I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is bringing, a lot of good vibes to Jacksonville, and I think he will be the guy to turn everything around. And he definitely showed flashes of that in his preseason Week 1 game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously his debut was nothing special, but he was going through a lot. The Jacksonville offense just did not look very good together. The offensive line was poor. He did, I thought, kind of close to his best based off what he was given. I think you're right that throw to convert on 3rd down on his first drive was probably, I think, the best throw, but he didn't really look like the Trevor Lawrence I was expecting. Now, it wasn't a horrible debut, but he just didn't look like Trevor Lawrence. His pocket presence, I think, was pretty poor throughout the entire day. He just did not look comfortable out there on the field, especially when I was comparing him to these other rookie quarterbacks. He just didn't look as in sync with his team. He didn't look as in sync with his feet and his timing. It just, something seemed off. And so I'm not like predicting that Trevor Lawrence is, just because of this one game, going to be a bust or he's not going to work out, but he definitely did not look as comfortable in Week 1. And maybe that's a representation on him. Maybe it's a representation on the Jaguars. Maybe it's just a representation on the fact that, it's going to take a little bit of time. And it could be also a representation on the other rookie quarterbacks that had good debuts. We did a poll on our YouTube community page that's still up right now, if you guys want to go vote on it, about who you guys thought had the best debut. And Trevor Lawrence got 0% of the vote so far. And I'll bet you, though, if we said, who do you think will have the best debut, Trevor Lawrence would have gotten a lot more votes. So it wasn't a horrible debut at all. And I really, it doesn't mean a whole lot. But his debut was definitely probably the most underwhelming of all of the guys, as well as, I think, just based on what was thrown at him and what he was able to accomplish and the little amount of time he got compared to guys like Mack Jones and Justin Fields and Trey Lance. It was the worst debut, I would say, out of all of them. We're going to rank him eventually, but I'll say right now, I'm probably going to slot in Trevor Lawrence near the bottom.
Sure, yeah.
And while I think that maybe he was better than Trey Lance, a guy who we'll get to later, I just think that overall, just based on the way that he looked, like Trey Lance missed some throws, but he looked comfortable. Trevor Lawrence, he didn't miss too many throws. It just, he did not look comfortable. And I think that will come over time. But he just did not look like Trevor Lawrence to me, which is something
I'll get into this in a bit, but I don't think either of them look comfortable, really. I think I'll get into it when we talk about Trey Lance, but I slightly disagree with that.
Okay. Well, our next on the list is Zach Wilson. If we're going in draft order, what do you think of his debut with the Jets?
I actually think Wilson was solid. But really, I think he needs a clean pocket, because when he did have a clean pocket, I just noted good footwork, and that leads to good accuracy. But I think my real concern is when he's on the run and when he's going to be facing pressure, footwork just goes out the door, and then, he's not going to make the right read. Maybe he's going to be a little bit inaccurate. And I mean, during the draft process, a lot of scouts were kind of worried because the BYU O-line was really good. And now he's going to a Jets O-line that is, it has a lot of potential. It's looking pretty good as of right now, but they're still working through it. Like, it's not a complete offensive line. So how that's going to translate to the NFL, I'm not really sure. But I think at the end of the day, he showed me more good than bad. As I said, when he's, not feeling hurried, I think he's a very solid quarterback, and he showed some really good flashes. But I think he's off to a good start in New York. Is he the answer? I'm not going to say that after one preseason game, but I think things are looking good.
Yeah, and I think that he definitely noticed that himself, by the way, off of his own film, because he was in practice forcing himself to stay in the pocket. Even when there might have been a running lane, he's kind of forcing himself to stay in the pocket. And while I agree with you, I also hope it doesn't kind of go that flip side where he becomes a little bit like, there's trigger happy and then there's just not willing to take your shot, kind of like Drew Lock, honestly, in his rookie year.
Yep.
But I really did like what I saw from Zach Wilson. And like Trevor Lawrence, he did not get as much time as some of these other guys because as much as they're not going to confirm it yet, Trevor Lawrence is going to start week 1. Like, there's no chance they start Gardner Minshew.
No.
But Zach Wilson, in the 2 drives he had, I was very comfortable with what I saw because, yeah, he didn't have the flashy big pass like Trey Lance or the touchdowns like Justin Fields had. But also, I mean, he wasn't asked to do that. He made the plays that were there. And honestly, after coming off of, as much as I love Sam Darnold, after coming off of what Sam Darnold would do regularly game to game for a couple of years, where he would make the plays that just weren't there, I was really happy with what I saw from Zach Wilson, being conservative, taking the check downs, making the right throws on 3rd down, making the right throws on 2nd down. Like, he just did a great job for what he was asked. I felt like he was also, good in the running game where it just felt like the Jets offense was doing what it needed to do. And Zach Wilson did his job. And while, it wasn't as flashy as some of these other guys, you got to respect that. If you get 2 drives, you're not going to be able to throw a touchdown every time, especially if on one of them you can't run for 4th and 1 against the Giants defense. Like, that's not his fault. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He made the right reads. And so, like I said, it wasn't the flashiest of debuts, but I thought it was really solid. And so I'm excited for what I saw from Zach Wilson.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with all of that. And I was also going to touch on, you talked about him in practice, him wanting to push his limits. I actually agree, and I actually like how he's practicing because I definitely think it helps within the actual game itself. He seemed a lot more, in the zone. He seemed a lot more comfortable making the simple throws. And it's not something that a lot of coaches, would advise to players. Let's just take it to basketball, for example. They don't advise you to take a bunch of threes. They tell you to take the shots that you would take in an actual game. In football, he's doing the opposite of that.
Yeah,
I think it definitely seems to be working out for him. If it works, it works really. And I think it's definitely working for Zach Wilson there.
he definitely knows kind of when to dial it back. I feel like in practice, he's taking these chances. He's seeing what he can get away with. And he had a quote. I didn't see the exact quote, but it was along the lines of, in college, the ball moves faster than the man. And in the NFL, the man moves faster than the ball. So he's learning all these things. And it's really cool to kind of see him realize, the game that he can play. I think he knows the way he can be most successful. I think that in practice so far, we've seen, like, obviously there's been days where he's throwing interceptions, he's up and down, but it's just because he's trying things out. And it was cool and it was good as a Jets fan to see him be able to kind of roll it back and be successful in the game. And really, there wasn't any passes that scared me that he threw. I thought there were some amazing passes he threw on 3rd down. There was an out to Corey Davis, over the middle of the field to Vincent Smith. The check down to Tyler Kroft was great. So I don't know, I'm missing the word right now, but I really liked what I saw from Zach Wilson.
You were satisfied.
And I think it's a good sign of things to come. And just the quote from Robert Saleh after, where he really liked the debut and he said there's so much more potential. It really makes me think that when this coaching staff opens it up to him in the game, I really think he can take advantage of those opportunities.
And it's a great coaching staff, by the way. This is a Shanahan offense, which means Wilson is pretty much set up well if he has the weapons and, if he has a clean pocket, as I said before.
Yeah, and I thought it was really funny seeing Matt LaFleur this week during team practices saying, Zach Wilson can be good if he gets the right coaching, knowing that his brother is.
It's like his offensive coordinator. That's funny.
That was really funny.
But
you get to talk about Trey Lance now. So.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So I was in attendance for that preseason week 1 game. So, obviously I'm grateful to see him up close again. Let's just start off with the positives, really. Let's talk about that 80-yard bomb. Everything was set up beautifully for Trey Lance on that play. It was an awesome play call. We could see Trey Lance was good rolling off play action there. It was just the line gave him time too, which didn't really happen a lot throughout the night. But it was a great throw. The arm talent is there. The athleticism is there. That's just stuff we already know. And he just kind of further expanded on that in this game. But really, aside from that, it wasn't, that impressive at all. And I will give him this. He had a few nice throws that were dropped. just flat out dropped, not his fault. He was under duress a lot. I'm pretty sure he was sacked 4 times in that game, which is pretty troubling considering he only played 2 quarters.
Yeah.
But really, even when he had time, very, very sloppy footwork, and that just leads to pretty bad throws. He had a couple that really almost should have been picked. But I wouldn't fret too much about it because this just further confirms that Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter. You cannot throw Trey Lance in week 1 because he is still so raw. And I feel like we just repeat ourselves every time we talk about Trey Lance, because at the end, we always say that Jimmy Garoppolo is still the week 1 starter. And we're going to say that again because he is. And honestly, some of the mistakes that Trey Lance has are the same as Jimmy's. When it comes to forcing throws, not making the right read, not escaping the pocket in time, not making a play or making something out of nothing. Those are all stuff, that happens with Jimmy. So if he can just work out the kinks, he can, be a stud, but it's going to take a lot of time to work out the kinks. He needs to master his footwork. This is a Kyle Shanahan offense, so it's really just tough to grasp in year 1. He needs the time to really understand it all because it's a very complex system. And also I had a friend tell me that he thinks that the staff instructed Trey Lance not to run at all during the game, which is actually something, I could believe, because maybe they don't want to unlock everything in a preseason game, especially when it's his first game action since, that showcase game. So I honestly think that he's showing potential, and we saw that potential on display in that 180-yard throw, but there is still so much evidence out there that he cannot be the week 1 starter, and he still needs a lot of time before he can become the quarterback that Kyle Shanahan really wants. So I was impressed by that one throw, but overall, I mean, this is like probably, I'll say arguably the least impressive QB performance out of the 5.
Yeah, I mean, that throw obviously was impressive, but to be completely honest, I don't think anyone could refute the fact that if that play was set up the exact same way and the exact same things happened, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson could all also make that throw. Mack Jones, don't quite know if he has the arm talent for that one, but
I think he can. I mean, a
first-round QB should be able to make that throw. Like, it's especially that wide open. He did not have pressure on him in that play. Nope. Everyone should have been able to make that throw. So I'm not going to judge him based on that throw. I'm going to judge him based on how he did when the things didn't go completely right. And he really didn't have a good game in that sense. Under pressure, he was pretty bad. He did not find the checkdowns correctly. He kind of succumbed to the pressure in a pretty bad way. His pocket presence was not great. And I just think that overall, there were a lot of problems that I saw when I watched him at North Dakota State that are still kind of traveling over. And that's okay. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm not trying to slander Trey Lance or anything, because I've said, I know he has these issues. It's going to take him time to fix them. So I'm not going to get on him for not having that ready by week 1 of preseason when I didn't think he was going to be starting until next season. Like, of course, playing at North Dakota State and an offense like that, where your receivers are always open, you don't really have to find completions. Going into the first preseason game, he had to do that, and he really wasn't able to, but that's okay. Like, I understand Niners fans are hungry for, a great quarterback. They're hungry for Trey Lance to come in and play, but it's okay if he's not ready yet. And so that's why, like, I'm going to point out these things that I thought were wrong, but I want to make sure it's known. I'm not trying to get on Trey Lance for this. I'm not a Trey Lance hater at all. I think he's going to be amazing, especially in this Niners offense. But there were things that he just couldn't do week 1 that some of these other rookie quarterbacks could do, or someone who is going to start week 1 should be able to do at this point. And so, yeah, that throw was great. He had a couple other throws that, yes, were dropped that were great. His arm talent, amazing, everything like that. But there are some things that he's just still can't do. And those were the things that I really noticed. Of course, with the couple 2-minute drills, they were just really sloppy. It looked kind of ugly. And overall, I just think that he could do a better job refining his skill set, and that's going to take time. And so overall, like, there was potential there for sure. I wasn't overly impressed by what I saw, but then again, I wasn't expecting to be wowed by Trey Lance and the super great progress he's made, because that's kind of not the progress that you're going to see, because the progress is going to take a long time based on where he was as a prospect.
Yeah, and just two more things. Last week I said the game moves a lot faster when you're in an actual preseason game, and that was just proven, almost like single-handedly with Trey Lance here. And also, Kyle Shanahan is all about winning from the pocket first. So that's definitely why we didn't see, him rolling out and being, the athletic QB Trey Lance. He was more of the pocket passer Trey Lance in this game again. But I they're going to be following the Mahomes model to a T, or at least I hope they do, because really that's the route you got to take with a guy like this. And even then, Mahomes coming out of college had a lot more reps than Trey Lance did. So maybe it could take even longer. But look, I think Trey Lance, we can't overreact to the preseason. It was not the best game, but we can't jump to conclusions, if that makes sense.
Well, also you can't jump to conclusions based off one 80-yard throw, which I'll admit we did see a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was definitely one of the best throws of the week in hindsight. But as Jack said, you can expect any of the first round QBs to make that throw. And even Mack Jones would make that throw. Like Mack Jones, he can go deep. But I mean, it's just Trey Lance, he needs a lot of time. He needs a lot of time to just get it together, master his footwork, and understand this system.
But, I am still excited to see him, because I do believe that time's going to come. Like, I really do believe that. And Niners fans, you should be excited, because it will be miles ahead of what Jimmy Garoppolo is now.
Oh, hopefully, man.
But it doesn't have to be. Trey Lance is already better than Jimmy G.
No, it doesn't.
It's okay. Give him some time.
Yeah, Niner fans you just need to practice patience. That's all it is.
Well, I think ever since that throw when he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl, there's this Niners fans can't stay patient for someone better than Jimmy G.
Yeah, and that 80-yard touchdown, it was a deep throw. So anytime, your rookie is making a deep throw, they want you in the game. So that's just going to be how it is. It's unfortunate for Jimmy, because Jimmy can, he can make deep throws. It's not out of his arsenal, but like he missed that one deep throw and everyone's just on him now. It's unfortunate for him, but that's just how it is in football, I guess.
Well, I mean, also if he did hit the throw, you have a Super Bowl ring. So
yeah, that's something I think about a lot. Like imagine he hits that throw, how the narrative would just flip on its head for both sides. We'd be looking at Mahomes a lot different than we would now.
Trey Lance would not be a 49er, I'll tell you that.
Trey Lance would definitely not be a Niner. Man, it's crazy. It's wild. It's I've been watching that new Marvel series, What If.
Yep.
I kind of think about that.
You could build an entire show based off that.
Man, they have the NFL. Forget who runs that show. But, they talk about a bunch of different stuff. They talk about Andrew Luck. What if he didn't retire? What if he didn't get hurt? They talk about a lot of different stuff. So that's a good show if y'all want to look it up. It's called NFL.
Well, they got to make this one then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that'll make for a good episode. I don't know if it's still going or if it's retired, but hey, put in a Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo episode, and I'll be watching that for sure.
Well, hey, and if you guys are down here in the comment section on YouTube, let us know if Jimmy Garoppolo hit the pass to Emmanuel Sanders, what would be different in the NFL? Creativity. We will respond 1 through 5 stars. That's what I'll do. Yeah. I'll go in 1 through 5 stars based on your creativity and what I think. But moving on down the line, we've got Justin Fields, who 43% of you guys thought had the best debut out of all the quarterbacks. It started out pretty rocky, but I'll admit it was pretty great to see him when he got going.
Hey, consider me in that 43%, but oh my God, we're talking about teams looking for a franchise QB. Just look at Chicago, man. Like, when is the last time they had a true franchise quarterback? Could you even name one?
Dude, they have Andy Dalton right now. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, it's his time. It's his time. I mean, is Justin Fields the answer? I don't know. Who knows? It's a preseason game. But look, he showed a lot of potential. He entered the game in the second quarter, but as Jack said, it was rocky. He looked really jittery. Forced a few throws. He fumbled. He almost threw an interception. It was not good, like, at all. But the thing is, Justin Fields has poise, especially in the pocket. He was under control in that second half, even when, he was facing pressure. And I think we saw that in the third quarter. He threw a touchdown. He ran for another touchdown. He showed that 4.3 speed. He has great arm talent. He showed why, he was the number 2 ranked QB prospect in last year's draft. I had him over Zach Wilson. I had him over Trey Lance. I had him over everyone except Trevor Lawrence. And I think he showed, why he was, as good as people predicted him to be. But I mean, Fields is going to go through a rough patch, and I don't blame him because he's in Chicago, and really they've had a lot of trouble finding a franchise QB. So I wouldn't expect everything to be sunshine and rainbows, but I think if I'm a Bears fan, I am thrilled with what I saw, because even though Andy Dalton claims it's his team, I think Justin Fields is still solid, and I think he is the future for Chicago. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx it. Let me knock on wood, because Chicago needs a franchise QB. But
and you're great at jinxing Chicago, so
I'm very good at even the knock on wood may not work. What's another thing they use for like not jinxing stuff? Cross your finger. I don't know. Hey, let's for Bears fans' sake, I hope Justin Fields really just works out for you guys. And I think from what I saw, I think he did have the best preseason debut of any of the 5 QBs we're discussing right now. And it's all from that second half. He showed why he was the total package. And, I was very, very impressed. And hopefully that translates to the regular season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the start was the start, kind of the first half, Justin Fields was not good. Would rank kind of in the area of Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence. It looked really antsy. I didn't really like his footwork. It looked like his timing was just a little bit off, trying to do a little bit too much. He just didn't look great. When he turned it on in the second half, that was maybe the best football that was played, especially about any of these rookie guys, out of any of the quarterbacks that I saw in preseason. He looked really good. He looked in control. I think that was a kind of a big point that you brought up. He really did look in control. He looked kind of like almost a veteran, taking what the defense gave him with his feet, with his arm. I just think he did a tremendous job. It was amazing to watch. But you're right. There still are those issues he's going to work over. He's got to learn to kind of not have that antsy start, and he'll get it reined in. I do think it's a little bit BS. You saw his quote when he was asked if the game sped up on him in the NFL. Yeah. He's like, nah, it was kind of slow.
Yes.
The first half was very fast for Justin.
It was very fast. You could tell that he was still playing college ball while he was in the pros, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah. I mean, the way he ran with the ball before he fumbled, that's a college thing right there. That's not something he's going to get away with in the NFL. And like all of these rookie QBs, he's going to learn it. But when he really turned it on, it was great to watch. Awesome. So we still don't know whether he's going to start week 1. I think it might be a decent idea for them to start Andy Dalton week 1, give Justin Fields a couple weeks, let him learn these things, and then let him loose. And I really think the Bears have something special with Justin Fields. I think I'm on the same train with you, as he's the best rookie QB of preseason week 1. The next guy we're going to talk about, I think, also had a really good debut in kind of a different way. But Trey Lance had the flashiest day, or not Trey, Justin Fields had the flashiest day. He had the best day once he got it going. I think that rocky start brought him back a little bit. But overall, Bears fans should be excited, because that was a lot more exciting than watching Andy Dalton or Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky play football.
For sure.
But no, the last guy that we're going to talk about is Mack Jones. He's the one guy who's played 2 games so far. We're going to mostly talk about game 1, because we got to go back and check out game 2. But Mack Jones, I'm just going to say it right off the rip. Mack Jones looks like a New England Patriot. He looked basically, he looked exactly like I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's going to go out and win 7 Super Bowls, but on the football field looked like a Tom Brady clone. Basically, in the New England Patriot system, if you put both of them out there, and I had to look at them as silhouettes, could not tell much of a difference.
He's basically Jimmy Garoppolo. He's the Jimmy Garoppolo that Bill Belichick has wanted, and he found him in the draft.
Yep.
And really, I don't have much to say about Mack Jones. He was good for Mack Jones. It was good for what his role was. A lot of short passes, just quick releases, a lot of design plays from Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. I think that whole game was about building confidence for Mac Jones. Like, I think what we say is the most impressive throw. I'd say I think it was the one that was dropped. He threw it deep.
Yep.
I think it was on the left side. I forgot what quarter it was in, but he threw it down the left side and it was dropped. But
that was a great throw.
It was a great throw. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still think Newton is the starter. I know earlier I said Mac Jones would eventually, would overtake him and be the week 1 starter. I just don't see that happening anymore. I haven't seen how he's done, in this preseason week 2 game, but what I've heard so far is Newton had a great game. Jones had a great game. So
yeah, they both did. I mean, they beat Philly 35-0. So
yeah, I mean, positives all around, but that's a great QB situation to have. You can play Newton. If things end up bad with Newton, you can throw Mac Jones in, but I think this whole game was for Mac Jones's, or that whole game was for Mac Jones's confidence. And, once I actually check out this week 2 highlight tape, maybe I'll get a better sense of where the Pats are at, where Mac Jones is at. But overall, I think he's like right in the middle of the pack when it comes to the rookie QBs.
Yeah, I'd put him right up there with Zach Wilson. They both did what they're supposed to do in their respective offenses. And people are going to say, oh, but Mac Jones, all he did was check the ball down. Do people realize how many Super Bowls the Patriots
Tom Brady did that for his whole career? Like, it's a Patriot offense. Like, what more do you want him to do? Patriot QBs aren't going to be flashy.
Yeah.
That's kind of why Cam Newton didn't really work, because I don't know how well dynamic QBs do in a Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniel system. So a guy like Mac Jones was, in my opinion, the better fit, which is why I originally thought that he would be the starter come week 1. But I mean, Cam Newton is showing flashes, so can't knock that.
I think I can semi-confidently say I think Mac Jones is going to start week 1 for the Patriots.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Just because the way that how close he looked to Tom Brady, that's what they're looking for. And it's what they've been looking for since Brady left. And I know it hasn't been a while, but that's just what they want. And I really think if there was one player that did their job the best this preseason week 1, I would give it to Mac Jones. I really would. He didn't have, in my opinion, the best preseason week 1 performance, but for what he was asked to do and what he probably will be asked to do for the entire season, Mac Jones did a tremendous job. And he did so today as well. I don't remember the exact stats, but he had an extremely efficient day, did exactly what he normally does. They ran the ball like crazy. And they made Philly look like, I saw someone say they look like the Texas Longhorns. So,
and speaking on the run game, quick shout out to Ramondre Stevenson, man. He's having a great preseason right now.
4 touchdowns.
Yeah. And the Pats running game is just really deep right now. Like, it's looking good for them. I think Mac Jones is set up beautifully in that sense.
And that's the thing. Like, we don't need Mac Jones to be 80-yard touchdown Trey Lance or rushing touchdown Justin Fields or 35-yard pass Trevor Lawrence.
That's never how it was with Brady either.
Nope. Mac Jones is going to make his money doing what New England wants him to do. And that's why, it was not the most impressive debut. And people will probably comment and say it was just a bunch of checkdowns. But then again, he did his job. And I think that he's trying to win a starting job right now. And I think that he's bringing himself closer with these performances. I was impressed. Well, I was I liked what Mac Jones did.
He was fine. He was fine.
It wasn't impressive, but he wasn't asked to be impressive.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to be impressive with that offense. So
yeah,
I like what Mac Jones did.
And he was pretty much definition of the middle of the pack.
Yeah,
just did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah,
it's just the best way to put it. But we saw another QB make a debut last year. COVID canceled the preseason, so we got to see Jordan Love take his first real NFL snaps for the first time ever. And I'll let Jack start off on this, but what did you think about Jordan Love's debut? Because I was pretty impressed.
I really liked what Jordan Love did. If we were including him in the rookie rankings, I think I had this weird thing. I went second half Justin Fields, overall game Jordan Love, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I think it was Trevor Lawrence kind of tied with it was Trevor Lawrence first half, Justin Fields, and then Trey Lance in some order like that. But I was really impressed with what Jordan Love did. he looked the most mature out of all of these guys, mostly because he's had that year. I think he was the best of the guys that watched it, just finding the completions at the right time. The arm strength is obviously there. He did not force the ball. There was only one throw that made me go, ugh, and it wasn't picked or anything like that. Just a throw into coverage that I didn't think needed to be made. But he made really smart decisions with the ball. He knew where to go. He obviously had the best grasp of any of these guys of his offense, which of course, again, makes sense because he's been there for a year. And I thought that I was really impressed with what Jordan Love did. There were a couple times where I thought he threw the ball a lot harder than he needed to, which maybe was nerves, maybe just he's got that big of an arm. But overall, really impressed with what Jordan Love did, and especially with another year in this system. If Aaron Rodgers is gone after this year, Jordan Love, I think, is going to be really, really good for the Packers.
No, yeah, great velocity, great touch. But I it's just as you said. Brian Gutekunst has to be very happy with what he saw when it comes to the long-term future of Green Bay, because Aaron Rodgers is probably gone after this year. I'd be surprised if he stays. But Love has definitely been progressing, and I think we saw that in this game. But once again, it's preseason football, and it was against the Texans. So I'm not going to really go overboard with it. But Love looks good, and, that's obviously just going to be a big positive for Green Bay. So I'm really happy for him. Obviously, he was facing a lot of scrutiny and pressure coming into his career because Aaron Rodgers was still there. But, I think he's handled it well. And hopefully, his game, as Jack said, hopefully he continues to get better, especially with another year under a Matt LaFleur system.
Yeah, and I think I know it kind of pissed off Aaron Rodgers, but it's really not a terrible strategy. If you've got an aging quarterback and you've got a chance to draft a generational talent like a Jordan Love that needs a year or two, it's a really, really good strategy, I think, to pick one of those guys up. You saw it with Mahomes. You're seeing it right now with Trey Lance. If you get one of those guys that's humble enough to sit there, like kind of wait their turn, it's really a good strategy because they can pick up so much and they can mature without being thrown into the fire before they don't know it, before they, figure it all out. So props to Jordan Love for being patient, getting his shot, and proving to all of us that he's probably going to be here to stay and he can be this Packers long-term quarterback. And props to the Packers for making this work. I obviously, if he doesn't end up being good, it will make that draft pick look 10 times worse than it already does. But I think that if Jordan Love kind of continues down this path, I'm really excited to see what he can do in Green Bay.
And who knows, just like the Brady-Rodgers rivalry, what if we see a Mack Jones and Jordan Love rivalry? Yep. That would be pretty fun. I mean, we could always argue about who has the brighter future because Mack Jones in a Belichick system, Jordan Love was looking really good. I already see people comparing that right now, but Jordan Love looked great. I mean, and I think Green Bay fans have to be happy with what they saw.
Yeah. I mean, overall, with all of these guys, there's things that are inspiring and things that kind of get me going for all of them. And I'm excited to see all of them. And I really think that they can all have bright futures if things work out. And there's a lot of young talent in the NFL. We got a lot of great young quarterbacks. I'm excited to see how this all works. There's going to be more coming into the league. And, obviously when we were younger, the kind of generation was Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady. Now we kind of get to develop that next generation of quarterbacks. We're seeing it start with Mahomes and Josh Allen. I guess Russell Wilson's kind of in that middle period, but we got Mahomes and Allen, and we're going to see some of these guys pick up. Is Kyler Murray going to step up? Are any of these rookies going to take that mantle? We think Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, those guys can. But I'm excited to see how this all works out. Very promising look into these guys in preseason week 1, and we got 3 more of these games. There's 4 preseason games. You're right.
No, three.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I said 4, I figured I was wrong. We got a couple more games for each of these guys, and so I'm really excited to see. Overall, I would give positive reviews to Jordan Love. I'd give positive review to Justin Fields, Mack Jones, Zach Wilson. I'd give negative reviews to Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance and first half Justin Fields.
Yeah, you're spot on there. I like how you split Justin Fields into two halves. That's pretty funny.
It was two completely different players, but
No, for sure.
I think that's more of a testament to how he turned it on in the second half compared to how he was in the first half.
Yep.
I'm done talking about quarterbacks. If you're done talking about quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, man. I'm tired. I'm never tired of talking football, but I'm tired of talking about QBs right now.
Yeah, we've been talking about quarterbacks for about a week now. We get to talk about Antonio Gibson, the Washington football team running back. They're reportedly trying to push him into a Christian McCaffrey-like role, being that 3-down back, getting him the ball a ton. I mean, of course, since they don't have that quarterback to kind of push the ball downfield like some other teams do, and like the Panthers have had that issue in the past, Christian McCaffrey took up a big mantle and went for 2,000 scrimmage yards, and now the football team's trying to push Antonio Gibson into that role. What do you think of that move? Are you excited to see Antonio Gibson in this role? You think he can take it on, be that CMC level back? What are your thoughts?
Man, I am so excited to see Antonio Gibson this year. Every single fantasy football league I'm in, I think I have Antonio Gibson.
I really want him.
I'm so hyped to see him. And ever since the end of last year, it's kind of been like a steady kind of, I've been investing more and more stock into him. And I think with this report that they're trying to get him to be like CMC, it's just all the way like through the roof for me, because here's the thing. I think Antonio Gibson just has that sort of skill set. You know, he can be great, you know, for talking fantasy in PPR leagues, he would be amazing. And I just happened to get CMC and Antonio Gibson on the same team. So that's amazing right there.
How many people are in your league?
It was an 8-man. It was an 8-man. So I somehow got both of them. But I think with Ryan Fitzpatrick at QB, you got a lot more weapons. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. I feel like Antonio Gibson can truly get open, you know, in the short, intermediate field. But I mean, because now defenses have to respect the deep game now. And that's going to open up the field more for Antonio Gibson. So I think this role, I think he's well suited for it. He can be a bruiser, you know, he's everything, you know, that CMC kind of is. He just hasn't realized that potential yet. That's what I'm starting to get with this. So I'm really excited. I just hope that this means that he's actually getting like an increased workload. They say that he is, but at the same time, you have JD McKissick. And I really hope that they don't, you know, kind of dial back Gibson to help out McKissick. I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm feeling pretty confident that Ron Rivera is not going to do that. And he's going to have Antonio Gibson really just open up this offense, because a lot of like the best offenses in the league, they're good because the run game sets up everything else. That's what the Steelers were doing for the first half of last year. And as soon as they went away from that, they tumbled, like they fell off. So I think with Washington, it's exactly the formula that you want. And for Antonio Gibson, I think he is going to be so effective in that role. And I'm really excited to see what this means for him.
Yeah, after last year, I thought he had the potential to kind of take on that role. So to see that they're kind of trying to commit to that, I'm definitely excited to see it. I totally think he can do it. Obviously, he's not going to come out and be Christian McCaffrey his first year. But I really do think that he's got the potential to be a 2,000-yard guy. He's got the potential to be a top 5 running back. He's one of those receivers, the unique receivers that's got both the elite receiving ability and elite running ability, or maybe at least running potential. And I'm really excited to see Antonio Gibson this year. You're right about the JD McKissick thing, but I honestly think that it also might be a commitment to just running the ball more, because they know they don't have their quarterback of the future. As much as like people like to say, oh, you know, Heineke could be it. I don't think that he's the quarterback of the future. I don't think Fitzpatrick is either. So it could be a really big commitment to the run. And I think Washington could be a dangerous team like that, committing to the run, playing good defense and kind of bleeding out teams. It really could work. And I already had them as a playoff team. I already had Antonio Gibson as one of my kind of big breakout players this year. Just this commitment to that role is making me even more excited to see it unfold.
No, for sure. And I think Antonio Gibson by the end of this year, if I had to make a prediction, I'd say he's going to be squarely inside the top 10 for running backs. And I know that like running back group of top 10, it changes every year. So you can't really, you know, it's hard to make predictions, but I believe in Antonio Gibson. I am really excited to see him play. And I think him in that CMC role is just perfect for him. And I think that's what Washington fans have been waiting for, just to hear those words. because he's going to be really great for them.
Yeah, I agree. And the last thing we're going to talk about, Patrick Surtain made headlines with that big pick 6 against the Vikings in preseason week 1. And PFF came out with their grades, and he was the highest graded rookie from week 1 of preseason. If you're a fan of the channel, you know my opinion on Patrick Surtain. But Srikar,
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear your opinion of his preseason week 1 performance, what you thought, and also the big question that we put down in our notes: will Denver actually regret not taking a QB like we thought they would in the draft, or are they going to be fine with Patrick Surtain?
So earlier this summer, I ranked the Denver defense as an S tier defense. And I am so standing by that claim, because I think with Patrick Surtain, think about it. He's probably the cornerback 3 on that depth chart right now, when he could be a cornerback 1 for like 90 to 95% of like the other teams in the NFL, which is absolutely insane. That just speaks to how good and how deep this Denver defense is. They've got playmakers on all 3 levels. And I think this is an S tier defense, and I think it definitely will be by the end of the year. But Patrick Surtain was definitely the cornerback 1 this year, and I don't think it was much of a debate at all. And I know J.C. Horn went 1 pick earlier, which I was a bit, I was kind of surprised about it. But I mean, Patrick Surtain in Denver just makes their secondary so loaded, and I'm so excited to see how he works with guys like Justin Simmons in the same secondary with him. Will Denver regret not taking a QB? It's way too early to tell, because Drew Lock showed flashes in that preseason game. He's shown flashes throughout his career, but most of it has been disappointing. Teddy Bridgewater, he's not franchise QB material. Like, he can win you games, but do you really expect him to take this team to the playoffs? I don't think it's going to happen. So will they regret not taking a QB? Considering they passed on Fields, they might. But I mean, they got Pat Surtain, and that's just amazing in its own right. So as of right now, I'm going to say no. I don't think they're going to regret not taking a QB, because there's always next draft. There's always the draft after. Maybe they really believe in Drew Lock. Maybe they want to see what he has. And I think Drew Lock, he still has time. He's got an amazing supporting cast around him. Vic Fangio is a great coach. I still think that he can show he is the franchise QB for Denver. Will I say it is going to happen? No. And if I was a betting man, I'd say it doesn't happen, and they just go QB in the next draft. But I think the Broncos are in a great spot right now, because they only have one position they need to address. And unfortunately, it just happens to be the most important position on the field. But I think they'll get that settled. And once they have that settled, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, because their defense is insane. It is an S tier defense. The offense is really close to being as good as it can be. They just need to get QB figured out. But overall, I think Pat Surtain was the right move for them, considering the early returns.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the same thing. Like, I'll stick with what I probably said during the draft and what I've kind of believed the whole offseason. I do think they're going to regret not taking a quarterback in this draft class, but it's not going to be because of what they see from Surtain. I think Surtain is going to be fantastic. I've said it the entire time. I'm glad that he got that pick 6, because he was literally the top possible cornerback prospect minus the speed. And I said, with coverage ability like that, speed is not going to play as big a factor as you think.
And even then, he was not like as slow. Like he was still pretty fast. Like, he could play. He's fluid.
Of course, he didn't have the play speed of Caleb Farley or even J.C. Horn, but I mean, he came out, blazed it at the combine faster than we thought he was going to. He plays in the NFL, from what we've seen so far, just about as fast as you can ask of any other NFL corner. And he is an absolute monster in coverage. So I think he's going to be an amazing cornerback. I think he's got potential to be a top 5 corner easily. But I still do think they'll regret a quarterback, just because I'm not high on Drew Lock. I'm not high on Teddy Bridgewater. And while they have both kind of shown different flashes during training camp, I really do think that we've talked about all the rookie quarterbacks so far. We talked about Jordan Love last year. It helps to have one of those young quarterbacks. And they said that,
for sure, the
quote I saw from them is, it's harder to find franchise cornerbacks in the draft than quarterbacks. And that's maybe the worst quote I've ever heard, because
it's a terrible quote.
It made
a horrible take,
especially for the Broncos, who have had absolutely no luck in finding a franchise quarterback.
Exactly.
But so I do think they're going to regret it, but it's not going to be because of Surtain. And I'm going to stand by that, I think, to round out this episode. I'm trying to think. There's nothing else to talk about it. We got preseason week 1 all wrapped up, and there's preseason week 2 on the way. We'll have another one of these episodes.
One more thing. I know this is last minute, but the new Packers unis that they revealed, I think they revealed it today. Those are fire. Those are some amazing. Those are some of the best throwbacks I've seen in a long time. It looks really good. So I had to shout out the Packers for that one.
I really like, rating uniforms and seeing them all. And we got a lot of new baseball uniforms recently, the City Connect ones that have been underwhelming. We've seen all these concepts. I didn't like the new Cleveland Browns uniforms recently. So getting those Packers uniforms, I opened up my phone this morning and saw them. Those are some clean uniforms. Yeah. And Packers fans should be pretty excited. And I'm excited to see those on the field this year. But anyways, that's going to wrap up our episode this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're on YouTube, please consider hitting the subscribe button, the like button, leaving a comment about what you thought about the episode and your answer to that what if scenario. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere like that, please consider subscribing to the show, leaving us a 5-star review, and letting us know what you think. But anyways, we'll be back next week with another episode talking about preseason week 2 and probably a whole bunch of other stuff that happens. Hopefully no more Jets injuries, but
yep.
We will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for listening. See ya.